All right, and it's now time to speak to the Cabinet Secretary. Cabinet Secretary, a lot of issues have come up from those stories, including what came about during the session with the Senate. There are claims that Adani Group is also involved in PPPs with KETRACO, KenGen. What is the status of that?
KETRACO, there are several PPP projects, as you may be aware, for the last 25 years. Kenya, when we first experienced the drought of the early 2000s, we brought in the we brought in the diesel generators, which were basically coming in under the PPP framework. So Kenya, and particularly the energy sector, did provide a PPP framework on power generation. We are seeking to do a number of power generation transmission projects under the scheme of fully unbundling the energy sector. Having been the immediate Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum, I am aware that there are plans under the framework of employing more of PPP projects to open access to the unreached parts of the country. Right. Because it's expensive to basically build grid, say, in the northern part of the country because it is vast. And therefore, I'm aware that until I left, I was aware that there was a program under Africa 50. There were programs, there were a number of several proposals under PPP on transmission. And like I said, there's nothing new about PPP projects in energy. We've been running for the last 25 years. All the solar plants in Kenya today, except Garissa, are on PPP framework. So
tell me, is there a plan between Adani Energies and KETRACO?
It could be one of the proposals, because I said there are several. There are several PPP proposals in energy today, both in generation. In fact, you'll be, in generation alone, there'll be over 150 proposals on PPP.
By Adani?
By all privately, by different companies.
So is there an arrangement between Adani Energies and KETRACO?
I think there is one line between Gilgil, Thika, Mala. But it's one of the very many lines.
Sorry, Gilgil?
Gilgil, Thika, Mala.
Thika,
Mala.
Mala.
Yeah.
That has already been awarded?
No.
What is the status?
It's just going through the due process, like we've discussed. For all programs, there are those 20 processes that you have to go through.
How much is it worth?
I don't have the numbers.
Okay, so you don't know what stage, because for the Adani and JKI, you said it's stage 13. These are not certain?
Possibly slightly below.
Okay, all right. So tell us, because from our investigations, we found that there could be some relationship between the G2G oil deal and the arrangement to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport expansion. What is the role of investors in UAE in this JKI deal?
I'm not aware as of now of any relationship, KETRACO, between the G2G and, like you said, and the investment in the airport. I'm not aware.
So who is investing in the Adani plan, the PIP itself?
Like I said, again, it is a privately initiated proposal. It's going through the due process. The due diligence will bring out all those issues, because I think there's a team which has just gone to India to look at some of their airports. I think they developed Mumbai, which is one of the biggest airports, having a capacity of 60,000, and which is pitched to be one of the world's most efficient single runway airport ahead of Gatwick. They've built Ahmed Dabad, 11 million capacity. These are some of the findings from the due diligence. Right. They are developing currently Navy Mumbai, a 90 million capacity airport. And so these are the things that will come out through that due process.
So is there a relationship? Because you are the energy minister and you were part of the planning for the government-to-government deal, right? So is there a relationship between the investors in the G2G And Adani?
You'll note, of course, the G2G had three companies supporting government under the difficult time when the shilling was very stressed because of the tightened monetary policy.
Right.
And we have a deal with Saudi government, a deal with Emirates National Oil Company, and a deal with Abu Dhabi. So I'm not aware, because that one had gone through a due process under the OTS tendering process before we zeroed in on the three companies, or the three international oil companies which are owned by governments.
Which you must say was quite efficient, because the invitation to bid was 1st of March 2023 and master frameworks were signed on 10th of March.
The OTS is normally, the OTS bidding process is a 3-day process.
3-day process.
Yeah, because, you know, it doesn't follow the public procurement system. And given the challenge that we're facing with the dollar unavailability in the country, we just objected to the OTS process, which is a 3-day process.
How much will the expansion of the JKIA cost?
$1.8 billion.
But the PCA spoke about $2 billion.
It's a give and take. 1.82 billion. I think we are about talking about the same range.
What is the source of that money? Where will it come from?
It is a debt equity. You know, when you're doing big programs like this, KETRACO, like I did say yesterday, and like in energy, where we have a regulatory body, we try to ensure that the equity part is not significant. So under a term sheet, we don't allow equity to be
Maybe you can break it down for the viewer to understand what you're talking about.
The equity is on funding, on source. So if we give you a project to invest in, we don't allow you to put your own money more than 30%, because equity is expensive. If you invested that money in the market, you can get a better return of up to 18% in Kenya today.
Right.
If you are putting in short term because of the lending rates. Debt is cheap. If you borrow the dollar today, you can borrow at 8, 9, 10%. So we ensure that you develop the project employing debt more debt as opposed to equity. So that since equity is expensive, the ratio of equity to debt is 3 to 7, 30% to 70%. And therefore, we make sure that the equity, where we allow you close to market rates return on investment, does not make the project expensive, because for the case of airports, you do not want to see a situation where the service charges will go up because equity is priced at the market rate.
So if that is to hold, 70% of $1.8 billion, which is the cost that you put in the JKIA, that is about $1.26 billion. Do you know who is putting that money in there?
Let me basically say that even at the end of the signing of the concession agreement, there's a runway to reach what you call financial close, which under this deal, we are negotiating to see whether they can close the deal in 9 months. To reach what you would call commercial operation, to reach what you call financial close. To reach financial close means you then have done environmental study, you've procured the government support letter, you have done the design of the airport, which will be approved by the proponent, the concessionaire, which is JKIA. And once those things are completed within 9 months, and you reach financial close, then only can you draw the debt from the funding agencies. So it's a complex transaction.
So you don't know that, you don't know who the funding agencies are? I'm
sure it will be a couple of banks, because we are not looking for equity here, because equity is expensive. It will have to be a dollar denominated, priced under the market, obtaining, because then if it's again overpriced, the whole concessioning and pricing of the service charge at the airport becomes expensive.
You're aware about Global Airports Operator LLC Abu Dhabi?
No.
Registered on the 7th of August 2024 by Adani Group?
I'm not aware.
Okay, so there's a letter that went out indicating that happened. Are you aware about, let me just read the company, the full name as it is, that was registered in Kenya, Airports Infrastructure PLC, 30th of August 2024?
I'm not aware, but if you are talking about debt, KETRACO, I'm aware, like in energy, when investors have proposed to put in an expensive debt, we have offered to negotiate for them to even get a debt from Africa Development Bank, from where you can get cheap money. Because, like I said, this is really a managed process, and we cannot take a debt which is expensive. It must be. So to the extent that we can approach financial institutions who have got better price debt, we'll be able to work together, because then this gives us the correct pricing that gives us good service charge at the airport.
But Waziri, if you're doing due diligence, how is it that the minister responsible for roads and transport, the line minister for JKIA, is not aware that Adani Group has been registering companies 7th of August 2024 in Abu Dhabi, 30th of August 2024 in Kenya?
KETRACO, I've just disclosed to you that we are at that stage of the due diligence. So if what you are saying is true, it will come out. We are at that stage currently.
You're not aware?
I'm not aware.
Never heard of?
The point is, we have got a team of multi-government agency from different departments of government, including the Ministry of Finance, the Attorney General Office, the airport, doing the due diligence.
Yes.
A group of 15 people. And when you do due diligence from the area of commercial, financial, human resource, everything across the board, environmental, all these things suddenly will come out.
Who is representing your ministry?
You do know that I'm just 1 month today at the ministry, but I do know this representation.
This is an important conversation.
The ministry, I think it is represented by JKIA staff. There are senior JKIA staff who are participating in that.
JKIA staff?
Yeah.
Nobody from your department?
I'm not aware whether there is anybody from the Ministry of Transport. None.
So when you assure Kenyans that the interests are going to be taken care of, but your ministry has not sent a direct link, so who is conducting due diligence on the behalf of you or of your ministry to give you the confidence?
The Kenya Airports Authority is under my ministry.
So who went in KEA?
I could have come with the names if I knew the question was going to come up. Like I've just said, I'm exactly 1 month since. It's a big team. It's a 15-member team, including, of course, the PPP Secretariat, and which is headed by Chris Kirigwa.
Chris Kirigwa from PPP Directorate?
The Director General of PPP, yeah.
Okay. So who is helping KEA in this process?
Like I've said, and if I showed you and I did...
Because they're the contracting entity, isn't it?
Yes.
So who is helping KEA?
The PPP Secretariat. There is a Director General in charge of PPP at the National Treasury.
But expertise... You'll
have seen documents moving between JKIA and PPP Secretariat, moving back to JKIA and going back to PPP Secretariat to ensure that they do comply with the PPP process. And we look at all those issues, like I've talked about debt equity ratio, we look at return on equity, we look at the concession period, we look at the staff issues, that if the staff were going to move from a human resource perspective, they can only move on better terms than what's obtaining today. So all those things are in the concession agreement, and it's basically guided by the PPP Secretariat. PPP Secretariat is a whole directorate at the Treasury run by a Director General, Chris Kirigwa.
What is the role of senior government advisors in this?
Absolutely none. Yes, absolutely none.
So who is advising KEA?
There is a whole PPP Secretariat who are very well trained on PPP processes. Even the energy programs I did talk to you about, all of them go to the PPP Secretariat at the National Treasury. It's a two, and it is manned by very competent staff. We've got a whole directorate with a Director General running that Secretariat.
Okay. Interesting. And of course, you'll also be getting questions from you. You can start by sending them to us at Citizen TV Kenya, at Sam Gichuku. The hashtag to use is Citizen Tonight. We'll be raising some of them with the Cabinet Secretary here, so be sure to send them to us and we'll be doing due justice to them. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment.